Okay, so I'm back in the workshop with this little gramophone here. I've shown this in a couple of previous videos. It's a rebuilt Decca 50 as far as I can tell. It's the guts of a Decca 50 portable that somebody's recased at some point. Now, the intention of this video is to do a bit of cleaning up, sort of removing some of the dirt, sort of cleaning up the woodwork. It's not going to be a full restoration video. It's certainly not going to be a tutorial or a how-to. This video is purely for entertainment purposes. I will show you what I do, but that doesn't mean this is instruction or guidance. Okay, so let's crack on. I think first things first is going to be to actually remove the metal work, or remove all the sort of loose stuff. So I'm going to take the platter off. That comes off easily enough. Now, what else could we take off? This needle cup here. It's on quite firmly. Really need a screwdriver that fits well. I haven't really got one for this. Right, that's out. That's actually full of needles and stuff, so I need to be careful with that. I'm just putting things in a little tray. Tone arm can come off. I'm going to try and use the original screws as much as possible, although I can easily replace them as well. Head on this one really is quite tuned up. It's really just a case of trying different screwdrivers. Now, something that should be immediately obvious as soon as I've taken that part off is that the varnishing on this was done after all the parts were fitted. So somebody went to quite a lot of effort to recase this machine. They made a nice wooden case, they fitted all the parts, and then later on somebody has actually varnished it, and there's been clearly no attempt to remove any of the parts. Well, I say no attempt, little attempt to remove any parts. I think essentially the varnish has been applied around the metal parts. Something else also, well, just carrying on from that point, we've got these sort of transfers on. I'm not sure if they're underneath or above the varnish. What's interesting is that they're a bit worn. It's possible they were put on and then got somewhere, and then somebody decided they didn't want them to wear anymore, so put some varnish over the top. It's also possible that they're on top of the varnish and that they just wear and will continue to wear. Just that spot there that you might be able to see, which is a different colour. I've tried cleaning that bit already with a bit of hand cleaner actually. This stuff here, which I've used successfully on gramophone cases before, so this doesn't have any grit or anything in it, and it seems to work quite well, so I'm going to use that again. It seems to be okay. Now this bit here is the support for the toner, or for the sound box. So let's give that a go. Will that just come out? It's quite stiff. I think we'll give these a tiny little squirt of WD-40. I'm using the tissue to try to avoid it getting on the varnish. Just a little to hopefully ease it or to sort of loosen off any of the sort of rust or anything there. I will take the motor out, but I'm going to take the brake and the speed control, so the brake there and the speed control here off as well first. These screws all seem to have been in there a fair length of time, that's all I can say. A little bit more than I intended. Oops, that really was a bit more than I intended. Now I think quite a few of these screws, like this one here, I think that's actually one of the original ones from the gramophone. Now this one here's got really quite a chewed head. Might be worth getting rid of that one. We'll see. It might clean up okay. Again, it looks like the varnish was applied around, well, whilst it was in place. So that's just a small pressed part there. That should clean up okay. So other than the tone arm screws, which were the 3 from there, all the others look like they're the same. Right, there we are. That breaks off. Bit rusty, that, we'll have to clean that up. And then we need to take this arm off here as well. Actually, let's have another go with this first. Very chewed up head on this one. Well, it's turning, but it really doesn't want to come out. Not the way to remove a screw, but sometimes. When the heads are very chewed up. Right. Not much fun at all. Can't see me using that one again. Anyway, so that bit's off as well. Okay, and then I just need to remove, well, I should have removed these bits. That's the sound box in there, so we'll just take that out. And the winding handle as well. It's got no handle on the end. I've got some ideas of what I might do with that. There's some screws I took out there. They belong to the horn, actually, the inside of the horn that mounts onto the bottom of this board here. Now what's interesting about this mechanism here, I think, is that it has an adjustment screw there, so you can adjust the length of the arm, and whilst it would be possible to adjust the position of this lever on the dial by adjusting the screw that attaches it to the main shaft, there seems to be another adjustment screw just here as well. So a very flexible arrangement, actually. Anyway, if we just loosen that screw off, I'm hoping this will pop off. Although I think everything's been on here a fair length of time, so maybe we need to take that out completely. I don't know. I think that is going, actually. There we are. Tiny drop of WD-40 made an awful lot of difference. So that's the speed control arm off there. So what am I going to do next? Let's put some tools to one side. Put the horn to one side as well. Put the box out of the way. Motor's held on by 3 screws here, so I'm just going to put a tiny amount of WD-40 just to help loosen them off. Too much. Now, though this appears to be toning the wood the same colour as the varnish, it's just basically an oil stain, but it's going to be hidden underneath the platter, so it's not going to matter too much, but it's still a bit annoying. Okay. It's rusted on by the looks of it. Oops. That's what happens when you stop looking at the screwdriver and check to see whether you are in camera shot or whether it's in camera shot. I think there it's rusted. I think the plating's actually peeled off the washer there and is left on there. There's nothing really special about these nuts and all these machine screws and the washers. I could just replace them all, it wouldn't really be a problem. Right, so there's the motor board without the motor. Might give that a bit of a clean just in a minute, just to see how it comes up. And there is the Garrard number 20 motor. Now, are these? I think these might be rubber washers here. So one on the bottom, I wonder. Yeah, so these are sort of washers to help protect and well, reduce vibration and reduce noise. I mean, how effective they are, they look pretty squeezed to me. I might replace them with something else. Certainly been on there a while, but we'll keep them. They're potentially serviceable. I mean, they're still soft, but just not very thick. So the very next job I want to do is actually to vacuum out the inside of this. There's actually some screws in here. I'm not quite sure what they're from. Take them out. I'm going to leave the sort of metal work, these sort of fittings here. If you can see them on camera. These fittings that are from like a DIY store. I'm going to leave them in place. Bit of paper, that's some sort of sticker. Oh, that's interesting. That's his Master's Voice label. I didn't even realise that was in there. That's obviously come off a record at some point. Put that to one side. I think otherwise it looks like just dirt really. So quickly vacuum that out. So that looks a lot better, and you can see more evidence that the varnishing was done afterwards. So where it was possible to reach inside the case at the top, or where the tone arm goes there, it's been varnished. Somebody's gone in with a brush and varnished it, but further into the case it hasn't been varnished. So so I'm thinking maybe it was put together and then later on somebody applied the transfers and did the varnish, or maybe the varnish was applied later to protect the transfers, but it certainly wasn't assembled and transferred up and varnished all at the same time, because I'm sure the person who actually built this case and moved all the parts over would have varnished it before they fitted the parts, or even if they fitted the parts to see that it would all work. You know, it wouldn't have taken them that long to have taken the parts off again, applied the varnish and put the parts back on again. It would have been much quicker, I think, and much easier, and they would have done a better job. So there we are. I'm sure I'm never going to know the history of this machine, but I suppose like a piece of antique furniture, you do get sort of clues. Now, something I forgot to do is take this escutcheon off here. Even though this has modern screws on it, I am planning on keeping them because it's part of the machine. So let's see, does that fit? Yes. Well, that's interesting. There's more than just the escutcheon there. Yeah, there's the back plate. I think that probably would have gone, may have gone inside the machine. I don't know originally, but it's been placed there. That's not such a bad idea. Again, not really any signs of varnish behind there, although somebody has clearly, they've drilled a hole and then they've sort of counterbored it with a bigger diameter there. So that's been reasonably neatly done. It's sort of work I would do. So I just keep trying to keep it in camera shot and then keep moving it out. And actually, you can see these sort of patches here. This I think is wood filler, so I think they're probably covers nails, which are actually assemble part of this case. So I've reset up the bench. I've got the motorboard on the bench, and I'm going to try cleaning it a bit. As I mentioned earlier on, I have cleaned a little spot here using this classic hand cleaner, which doesn't have any grit or anything in it. So I'm just gonna go over and clean it a bit more. I've also got a little screwdriver here because there's various deposits from, you know, rust and stuff. So I'm just wondering actually whether this sort of stuff might just scrape off. It's not stunningly important that it does, because the metal work is going to go over it again, but just thought I'd give it a little try. I think round the motor holes here it might actually be the plating from the washers. Well, that's looking a bit better. I will edit down the sequences a bit and maybe speed them up, because it's going to be pretty boring watching minute for minute exactly what I do, and it won't be very entertaining, and that's the purpose of this video, is to be entertaining, just to come along with me as I put a little bit of work into getting this machine back up and running. So not important that I clean those bits up, but yeah, I think worth a go. I don't really want to use the hand cleaner on the untreated bits of wood, and in fact it wouldn't really clean it very much anyway. This seems to be the worst here. This is rust, I think. And I've got 4 cameras running on this, so this is my new arrangement. I've been thinking for a while actually about having a chest camera or a front camera, so that you can see more of what I actually do directly in front of me. Side cameras are fine, but they don't always pick up everything. And I was just fortunate enough to find another spare camera to have a top camera as well. So I've got this camera up here, which may look like it's miles above the workbench, but it's only actually, might be 50 centimeters or so, maybe, what would that be in inches? 20 inches, something like that. Right, that's a little bit cleaner on those bits, not perfect. So might just use a little cloth and let me just wipe this down. Actually, that's interesting. So this bit in the middle here, just wiping it. That's had quite a significant effect actually. So we're going to try the same technique over the rest of the board. Yeah, seems to be doing something. If you're wondering why the board's not flat, it's because underneath there's this piece of wood here, which has been sort of crudely nailed on. I'm probably going to do something about that. I'm not very happy with just that nail there, but that's for the horn to attach to. Yeah, so just rubbing it with a cloth has actually had rather more effect than I thought it might do. But I still think it's probably worth just going over it with some of this hand cleaner. So I'm going to apply some on. I have tried cleaning 78s with this stuff. I did do a video. It does work, but it's very laborious, and I wouldn't recommend it. Now, what have we got here? There's definitely some damage to that that transfer there. I'm not quite sure. See, I'm not quite sure whether the transfer is under the varnish or over the varnish. It's very difficult to tell. But this stuff certainly isn't going to damage it, I shouldn't think. This is just lifting dirt off. I have considered doing a complete revarnish on it, but there's no way that I'm going to be able to match the colour. So at best it would be sort of a protective extra coat, but you'd still see the original varnish underneath. And I don't think I can sensibly touch up or otherwise repair the transfers. I did actually try one or two of them in Google Lens to see whether anything came up, but it didn't find direct matches. I mean, it found similar stuff, but nothing that looked like it was from the same range. So I really don't know where these transfers came from. That's just, I thought that was stuff I hadn't cleaned off there, but it's just bubbly varnish. And I think the Decca labels had varnish applied over it too. I mean, we'll put some of this on, but I doubt it's going to make any effect whatsoever. Right, well that's looking, if I can get in camera shot there, but that's looking a lot sort of shinier and just generally cleaner. I mean, it's always going to be a bit odd, this finish. I think possibly there were stickers. Let's get it in camera shot. Here was a sticker, here I think there was a sticker. That's changed the colour of the varnish, or the varnish is sort of faded or darkened in the sunlight, and the sticker has sort of protected the wood or protected the finish a bit. So yeah, I don't know what caused those, but that was a long time ago, I'm guessing. Just thinking about the best way of doing this, so it's actually in camera shot. It might have to be like so. So there's a bit of dirt on there, not so much I don't think. Being on the sides. It hasn't accumulated in quite the same way. that's just a sticky something there, bit of a label or something. Now, which side did I do first? Did I do this side first? Yeah, I think that was the side I did. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of dirt. That's really not a great deal. Possibly they're a bit too much for this, but actually we might as well do the inside as well while we're here. At least the bits which are being varnished. Will that work on camera? Maybe it worked better. Compromise between getting the best shot and actually being able to do the job. So I'm right-handed, so this works best for me. Yeah, definitely a bit of dirt in there. So that really is all I intend to do with the case. There's a little bit of damage there which I might patch up. I mean, it's not, it's just taken a bash, I think. I don't think there's anything too suspicious about that. There's no woodworm, which is good. I really don't like woodworm. It's always a risk when I bring gramophones into the house that they may have woodworm. Right. There we go. I think it's time now to get on with the metalwork. Okay, well, I've set up the workbench with all the hardware on. I'm not looking desperately forward to doing this on camera. It's much harder to do this sort of thing on camera. But what I've got is a little ultrasonic cleaner here, which I have to admit I've only used once or twice in anger, and I don't think really with gramophone parts. So I'm not sure how effective that's going to be. I've got some water, I've got some water-based degreaser there, and I'm just going to try cleaning some of the parts. Now I've got the platter here, so that's the platter. Now the reason I've got this is because you might be able to see that it's got sort of like yellowing on it, and you might think, well, that's sort of dirt or grease or something, but actually that's varnish from when the machine was varnished, because it just wasn't disassembled at all. Even the platter wasn't removed. Now this does actually come off with the aid of a screwdriver. Hopefully it'll be in camera shot, but you can actually, or I can actually just scrape that off. So I will probably do that. I mean, you could argue that it's original to this rebuild, but I don't know. I don't think it really needs to be on there. So my plan is to actually go around and remove all of that. And I won't do that just now. It's be a bit boring to watch. Here there's the little tub, little dish of metal parts. The the needle tin, actually, I need to empty that out. So I have actually got a little bag here. So there we are, that's all emptied out. I don't know if those needles are actually any good or not, but for the sake of argument I'm going to keep them. Look at them at another point. Now this I don't think really, well, I don't know. I mean, it may clean up in the ultrasonic cleaner, it may not. Some of these other parts, the rust won't come off, but it'll remove grease and just dirt a bit. So I think I'll put them in and then maybe polish them up, or I might have to go over them with a Dremel with a little wire brush of some description, or a little nylon brush, take some of the rust off. And the screws, some of them, I mean, that one's probably okay actually, but for the ones which aren't, I've got this container here, which has very similar sort of screws in it, which I will be able to use replacements from there. I probably have some others elsewhere as well. I always buy these sort of small round-headed screws if I can find them, because they are suitable for gramophones. What else have we got? Let's put these to one side. That's just a piece of bamboo stick, just to help scrape off dirt after it's been in the cleaner. This, you can see some yellowing on here, which I think is probably varnish. There may be dirt and stuff on there as well. This is the escutcheon. I've taken the rubber ring out so that it doesn't need to go in. It's not gonna be helped by going in the cleaner, so we won't bother with that. I've got two tone arms. Now this tone arm here is actually the one that came off the machine. I thought this other one was identical, but in fact it's not quite identical. It's a bit longer, and I don't know if that's in camera shot. It's a bit longer. This one also, the one that came off the machine, also has a couple of screws sort of there and there. I mean, maybe let's stick it against this camera as well. Might be better lighting just there and there. Where am I trying to show? There and there. 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 Now I've sneakily tried to take them out. They come out. They do not release the tone arm from the base, so I can't dismantle it like that. This screw here, that's really, well, that's to stop this going round too far. It goes back and forth a bit but no further. It should have been, I think, a rather smaller screw like on this one here, and I have actually found a screw somewhere. I'm not quite sure what I've done with it, but I've got a screw somewhere which is a better screw, more suitable screw I think than this big one here. Now I am going to take this screw out actually, because I want to dismantle the tone arm. So I should just be able to unwind this now, and it will come out. Like so. A bit odd actually. I don't know if that's been modified in there. Quite why there's only, well, yeah, not sure. Anyway, we will put this in. We'll put this in the ultrasonic cleaner as well, and we'll put this base in, and then we'll put all the other bits and pieces in as well. So how are we going to do this? Okay, so the ultrasonic cleaner, I don't know if it's on camera, but I've got it plugged into an RCD unit over here, basically as a safety precaution. And and it's got no heater in it, this one. It's just got a sort of mechanical switch, so it might actually get quite loud. So what I'm going to do is actually place a few items in here. Don't need those in. So I think that's everything that I actually want to put in there. Then we're going to put some degreaser in. I really don't know if that's enough, but that's a quantity. And then I'm going to put in some of this. Now I don't think, well, according to the label on the side, I'm not sure what that's saying. Certainly mustn't run it empty, and I don't think you run it more than 2/3 full. So let's put in a bit of water. That might be a little bit less than 2/3 full. Maybe I'll go get just a little bit more water. Okay, a bit more water. I think that'll do. Okay, lid on. Check the RCD's okay, and let's give it a little bit of a go. Now you might be able to see some bubbles and stuff in there, and the water or the water detergent mix does seem to be getting a bit cloudy, so it's certainly lifting something off there. And it actually looks like the sort of encrusty grubbiness around the base of the tone arm, sort of here, does actually look like it's rather better. So there we go. That was just a little go. I'm gonna probably give it another, I don't know, gonna turn it on again for a few more minutes. I mean, not a huge amount of time. I have very little experience with this, and as I've said before, this is not a tutorial. And one of the issues with making videos like this is that when you've got all the cameras and all the microphones running, it's quite easy to forget to do something or forget to say something. So anyway, it seems to be you know, doing something. So I shall give it a bit more of a go. Maybe we'll leave it there, and then we'll come back to it after it's cleaned a bit more. Well, I'm just cleaning up the platter as I wait for the ultrasonic cleaning to go. I think as it's here, I don't think it's going to hurt to put it on a bit longer. Now I don't know what you call this stuff. I call it stuff here. I call it kitchen roll, but I suspect it has other names in other countries. That's quite a lot better underneath as well. Actually, not clean, but better. So I may well have to clean other bits of this. This is by no means saying that this is clean. In fact, on there, I don't know if you can see, but that actually looks like, I thought that was that was actually the plating coming off and it showing down to brass, but I think that's actually varnish. Yeah, amazingly enough. So what looked like worn plating is actually varnish that's been applied over the plating, so that will actually clean up much better than I thought it might. I'm just using this piece of bamboo stick here. Now there is a bit of rust there as well by the looks of it, and actually thinking about it, if that is rust, then it's not brass underneath. Let's try a little magnet. Oh yes, that is not plated brass. Anyway, let's get some more bits and pieces out. Now one of the downsides of this particular ultrasonic cleaner is that the tray is not removable. Which means I just have to get everything out before I can tip the liquid away, or else there's a risk that I will tip the items I was trying to clean away. One solution, I believe, is to actually put the items in some sort of other container that then goes in the liquid. So that it goes in a container with liquid that goes in this container. Right, not feeling anything else there. So I'm going to dispose of the liquid and wash my hands, because I don't really want that degreaser on my hands, really, even though it was quite diluted, or diluted down to an extent. Okay, so the RCD is still working. I've just got it on a low heat. Don't want things getting too hot. I just want to drive some of the moisture out. Now how effective this is I really don't know, but it's all I can think of. So when I cleaned up my Apollo gramophone, which I showed in another video, I did actually use the same sort of cleaner, but not an ultrasonic cleaner, as I didn't own one at the time. And then I did also dry off the parts. It's quite effective. Now there might be traces of the degreaser left on these, but by the time I've sort of polished them all up, I don't think it's going to be any great matter. A bit more wiping of things. This is another example where what I thought might be wear on the plating is actually just varnish, and it's actually coming off. I really didn't expect the ultrasonic cleaner to have any effect at all on the dried on varnish, but it does seem to have lifted it, or maybe it's the degreaser, but no, I think it's the ultrasonic bit. So that's cleaning up really quite nicely. Okay, so time now to get it all back together again. Now I have done a bit of preparation work to stop this video just becoming really very long. I have test fitted the motor, I have test fitted the horn, I have put the tone arm back together again. In fact, you can see there, maybe on this camera, I put in the little brass screw that I found that replaces the rather ugly longer one, and I put some white grease in there as well. So so that's back together again. I obviously cleaned it all up. I cleaned up all the parts, all the screws. I'm going to use original screws where possible. To be honest, I haven't kept note of exactly where all the original screws went, which ones were which, so I'm going to use an appropriate screw, maybe not the one that was there originally. The motor has these screws here, right, those three ones there, and originally it had these little rubber bits as protectors, well, not protectors, sort of noise reduction things, and I'm going to use these sort of ones out of a CD player, an old CD player. However, what I've discovered is that I need to cut them in half. So I've got three here which I've cut in half, and those are the ones I'm going to use. Now, mounting the motor is actually the trickiest thing, I think, out of all of this. And I have test fitted the motor. In fact, let me just grab the motor. There's the motor there. I've done a very small amount of cleaning and oiling on it, but nothing really. So what I've discovered is I basically need to insert the screws from underneath, and sort of wiggle the rubber mounts into position. So it's no fun at all, really. I think it's right, well, I think that's one in, just a little bit, which is all I want. So now I can manoeuvre the motor a little bit. Right. So that one's in. Now there may well be a better way to do this, I don't know really. I actually haven't taken that many motors out of machines. So if you're enjoying this video, then please do give me a like. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them too. As I've said before, this is not a tutorial, this is just me trying to get this machine back up and running. Right, so they've all engaged to an extent. And as to how much they need to be screwed in will depend. If they're in too loosely, obviously the motor will wobble around. If they're in too tightly, there'll be vibration coming through the board too much. But also there'll be problems with the brake because the platter will be at the wrong height. And in fact there could be problems with the winding handle as well. So well, that looks reasonable for a go. So next I'm going to put the horn on. Now I have test fitted the horn. This is quite simple really, but I took the piece of wood off. And then because it was nailed on sort of here, yeah, there somewhere, and I've put on this little plastic block which sort of kind of matches the colour. This is all going to be out of sight, so it doesn't matter too much. But what I discovered is that I've got to be careful. It's got to clear the winding handle, which isn't too much of a problem. It's also got to be careful that it doesn't touch this cog here. So, but if I have it too far out, if it's too far out, then there's not enough room here for the case, for the edge of the case, for here. And also, before I forget, I have put the escutcheon back on. It was pretty boring, really. I didn't think it was worth really showing on film. I mean, I did actually film it. I have filmed lots of stuff that probably won't make the final cut. Because it's just all too sort of like boring really, watching me fight with things that didn't really want to fit very well. Anyway, let's put that in there. And get it in the hole. That should hold on okay there. There are some screws this end that I can put in, and as you can see the gear does clear just about. It's only a few millimeters, maybe 5 millimeters or so, but that's plenty. It's not gonna move any closer to the horn. So using this little box here, put a few screws in. Okay, so that's the horn on, that should be fine. Does it fit in the box? Get it the right way around. Yep, so that's good. So what else can we do? we'll drop there's the speed speed display there. That fits on like so. Put it in the middle. I'll have to calibrate this machine again, but that's not particularly difficult. Find a couple of suitable screws. Right, that looks okay. I'm going to set that to 78. Okay, so we've got needle cup. Looks okay. Brake. Going to use the rust pattern to line that up. Right, that looks hopeful. Probably could do a little bit of oiling, but we'll worry about that at a later point. I was going to try testing the speed on it actually. Do the calibration now. Right, that's the target for my little tester. There's the winding handle. We can wind that up. Well, let's just see what it gives me here. That gives me about 71. I don't know if that's going to show up or not. That's about 83, 84. $79, 81, 82. Right. Now, if the motor's good and strong, it won't matter whether I test it like this or whether I test it with the record playing. But this is only a fairly small motor, so I'm gonna set it fast, and then what I'm gonna do. So that's just over the 78. So I'm gonna just adjust this here. So loosen that off and then bring this back round to 78 and then tighten that up again. And that is going to be somewhere in the right ballpark, hopefully. Okay, what else can we do? Well, we could put on this weird little bracket here that the sound box goes on. Now, have I got enough screws for the tone arm? The tone arm is the thing that I need some reasonably decent screws for. I don't know that I do. This is annoying. Not quite a set, but they'll do. Now I always try and pick up vintage screws when I see them, just for jobs like this, because it's not uncommon for a machine to have a missing screw or two. Right, so that's on. Let's fit the tone arm as well. In fact, before we fit the tone arm, let's try the platter and the brake. So the platter, I haven't done anything with the felt on the top or the velvet on the top, but I have I've cleaned all the varnish off, I've cleaned all the rust off, I haven't polished it up. In fact, I haven't polished up anything. And I didn't use a Dremel on anything either in the end. I just used well, just hand tools really. Right, okay, so I need to give that a bit of a wind. Let the brake off. Okay. So that looks hopeful. Okay. Going to do something with the brake. Sorry, with the winding handle as well if I can. I've got an idea for what I might do with that. So I'm going to take that out for the minute. Right, let's put the tone arm back on. Now I think when I got this machine the horn wasn't properly attached, but and in fact the screws for the to put to hold the motorboard in weren't there either, but that's not too much of a problem. I'm not actually too worried about that. And in fact I probably won't put any in for the minute, because I may well do a test with and without the horn attached, just to see how much difference it makes. Now, I don't know what the track on this machine is going to be like. I'm assuming that the person who built this case adopted or used the same spacing as the original machine, but you just never know. Now, these flathead screws, they may look more vintage, but there is a reason that the world has moved to crosshead, Phillips, posi drive, because the screwdriver slips out of the heads of these flathead ones much more easily and causes damage. You get chewed up heads. Just generally doesn't work. These generally just don't work as well, but they do look the part. Is that going to go in enough? Yeah. Okay, so not perfect, but that's okay. Probably could do with a drop of oil in there actually. Just put in a bit of oil in round there. This is sewing machine oil. Let that soak in for a second. I don't want the machine dripping wet, but a little bit of oil in there is not going to hurt. And as I say, I did put some white grease in there, so that's cleaned and greased. Should be okay. Right, it's probably going to be okay. So this is the sound box that came with it. I have actually cleaned up the screws on here. Now, if you're familiar with the Columbia, and I don't know what model this is, but if you're familiar with this Columbia sound box, you may be looking at this going, that doesn't look right, and you'd be right, because the back is on incorrectly. In fact, there's two things wrong with the back. One, it's been rotated round one set of holes, and the other thing is it's missing the isolator. And in fact, if we look at another Columbia, this is basically the same model Columbia, although it may just be my imagination, but this one here is slightly yellower, so I'm thinking maybe that's nickel plated and maybe this one is chrome plated. Chrome plating is a little bit bluer in colour than nickel plating, but you kind of need to have two things side by side to really see it. On their own, each one just looks like it's plated, but when you put them together, I think possibly that's chrome, this is nickel. Anyway, that's not really what I was going to talk about. You can see here on the back the holes are they're in a different position, and in fact the screws, which I think are there, are actually inside, because there's actually a piece of rubber isolator there, which this one is lacking. Now, I could have put the back on correctly. It would have fitted a standard machine more easily, because actually the locating pin is in the wrong place. I don't know if that's on camera there, but it's in the wrong place. So what I've done though is I have made an adapter, and this is the adapter here. I 3D printed this. Now I could make a better one, but this one will do for the minute, and I've actually put a slot in the place where the pin on this one is, so that it will actually go in, and although it doesn't lock, the pin stops it rotating on this, and this bit here has got the sort of H&V Victor fitting, which is on this arm here. And in fact, I did actually take out the aluminium piece that was jammed in there. So this arm here, as well as taking this tone arm just fine. And as I say, the tracking, we'll see how the tracking is. It's probably not brilliant because that adapter's probably a little bit too big, but I can actually also fit another sound box like this Decca one here. It's a little bit tight because the tone arm has been mucked about with, but yeah, that goes on. I did try a H&V number 4 as well, but that didn't want to fit. But anyway, this sound box is a Decca one. This is off a Decca Decca 10, I think, and I think I saw one on a Decca 75 that I spotted the other day in a shop. Anyway, so I take that one off. So that's the sound box. So we might as well fit it. In fact, what I haven't even thought about is, will it actually fit here? Oh yes, it does. So that works okay. Now, the other thing I was thinking about doing was the winding handle. Here's the winding handle. Now, it doesn't have the right end on it. It should have a sort of wooden end. In fact, can I find one? Yeah, it probably should have a wooden end, something like that, maybe not that colour. And in fact, this is fixed, but as you turn it, it sort of just goes around in your hand sort of smoothly, and that's how this one works as well, effectively. And I did think about putting something like a cork, well, I say a cork, this plastic thing here, but it's not smooth, so I don't think that would have worked very well. But I did find that this ball bearing, or this bearing race here, does actually go over it just about. So I was thinking I might get away with sort of tapping that on, or even just pushing it on. Actually, yeah, just push it on. And then it can go around like so. So that might be a bit temporary, but it does sort of go on, amazingly enough. I'm sure I could secure it on there a bit better if I really wanted to. But anyway, let's go with that. Okay, So I think we're kind of in business actually. So what I intend to do is wind it up and actually try a record on it. How best to do this, I wonder. See if the winding actually works. I mean, it's not terrible actually with the ball bearing race on the end. Probably could do with being fixed on a bit better. Right, I think that's probably enough. And this record here, this is You're the One That I Care For. I've played this one several times before actually, and it seems to be safe to play. So put that on. Maybe we'll swing this around like so. Right, there's a medium tone needle. And let's put a needle in the sound box. Sound box could do with a bit of work, but it's okay. I say the adapter's not brilliant, but I think it will do for the minute. Right, how does that look? Does that look like that's going to sit okay? Yeah, and it's not a terrible angle. Could argue whether that's 60 degrees or not, but it's not terribly off. Right, so let's just try wearing the needle in a little bit. Okay, let's go for it.
You're the one I care for, you're the one and therefore I hope you care for me. Listen to my pleading, you're the one I'm needing, I love you so sincerely.
So it's a bit fast.
At last I've met my fate, I'm glad that I could wait until I found someone like you. You're the one I care for, you're the one and therefore I hope you care for me.
Somewhere around there, I think. So I do need to calibrate it a little bit better. plenty of power to get through the record. So while I'm here, I might as well actually just adjust the calibration again. So it'll only take a few seconds, so pull that off. Doesn't matter that the motor's running. Hopefully I haven't knocked anything, so we just take that like that. Move you back to 78. Right, and that is going to be a reasonably well calibrated machine. Maybe not perfect, but certainly certainly tolerable. Right, there we go. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do on this machine for the minute, although I will play some other records and maybe do some other tests. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, and if you've got any ideas for any other videos, then I'd be interested in hearing about them too. So thanks very much for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video then you might like this one too. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.